back to Good Evening KU. I'm Caroline Appleby.
And I'm Al Moore.
We're actually missing one of our directors today, Laura. She actually has the opportunity to be at Kauffman Stadium right now, where KU is playing Nebraska in the baseball game. So her and some of our fellow directors actually got a behind-the-scenes tour at Kauffman.
Yeah, just look at that. That looks so cool to be able to go and do that. I mean, not everyone can do that, you know, so she's probably having a lot of fun there. Have you ever been to that stadium?
I've never been. I really want to go, though. I'm a big Twins fan, though. I know you are.
Yeah, from Minnesota always. And there, I think, is Tim and some of the other directors.
There's Tim and Danny and Abby.
Yeah, they look like they're having fun behind the scenes.
They're all from Rock Chalk Video, and they're enjoying themselves at Kauffman Stadium. But Al actually had a really fun weekend.
Yeah.
My weekend was boring, but Al, of course, is jet-setting around the country.
Yeah, had to fly to Dallas, you know, last minute fun. But yeah, I flew to Fort Worth last Thursday to go meet that Tinder guy I swiped right with 4 months ago, if we're keeping track.
We have a Tinder guy that she is now dating.
And so I flew to go see him this last weekend, and we did a lot of fun things. There was actually turbulence on the way there, and which was kind of scary, even though I've been on like tons of airplanes. But you know, when you're like jumping up and down,
your stomach drops,
and your water's like shaking, like in Jurassic Park, you know, kind of. If you've ever seen that, it gives you a little butterflies.
Yeah, I don't like that. That's no.
But I made it there safely, and we did a lot of fun things. Like we went to this in Dallas, Texas. There's this place called Reunion Tower, and it looks like Epcot in the sky.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, if you know Disney. And so there I am with looking out at the skyline of Dallas, and it was so awesome to be that high up there in the sky. And they had those little things, I don't know what they're called, like viewfinders or little binoculars, and you could literally see people like in their cars. It was so clear, and you could like zoom in really far.
That looks like so much fun.
Yeah, and there's like the overside, like the outside view, I guess, and there's us. And I was laughing so hard at this picture because Luke was so excited that he had like his tickets in hand and like didn't let him out of his sight. And I was like, you literally took a picture with your tickets. So both of our moms liked that on Facebook.
That's adorable. Oh,
and then since he's on the golf team, we had to go and golf with all the Texas Wesleyan players. So here I am like trying to chase him down for a selfie. And I also brought my GoPro, so that's taken with a GoPro, and I hooked up like the headset GoPro to their heads, you know, when they were swinging.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so awesome to see the footage I got, because like some of them are really short and he's like super tall, and you can just like, it's like the point of view from a golfer, so he's like holding his like little golf stick. I don't really club there. That's it. Not really. Not really.
Not a stick. Not a stick.
And so that was really fun to go and just be out there and see him again.
What about your tulip farm?
Oh my gosh.
Tulip farm, yeah. And you never got to go.
I was so excited about that. I probably told like every person I knew at KU that I'm going to go to Dallas to this tulip farm.
Yeah, you were going to run in the tulips.
Yeah,
I was super excited
it was
about
closed like 2 weekends ago, and I was super bummed.
That makes me so sad.
And like,
so cool,
I know, and walking around here at KU, haven't you seen all the tulips?
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Like, but now it's dirt. Like somebody.
What happened?
I don't know. They got to plant new flowers, but I was extremely sad when I was walking to my math class one day, and I was just like, who stole all the tulips?
I thought somebody took them. I thought some jerk like took all the tulips, and I was
know,
like,
that would probably be me. I would do that, but
they started mulching, and it smells horrible around campus.
Oh, I haven't smelled anything. Do you have to be close to the dirt?
No, but you just walk around. Everywhere you walk, it smells. I think it smells.
Hopefully they'll put new flowers in soon.
I want them to. Did you realize the snow sign is still gone too?
The
Snow Hall.
Oh, I don't ever go to Snow Hall or around there.
It's still gone. I thought it came back. So I think the same person that took the Snow Hall sign took all the tulips.
Yeah, somebody's taken all the tulips and the flowers at KU. We need to fix that. So Caroline, do you have any fun weekend plans coming up?
You know, I have formal this weekend, which will be super fun. So it's Kentucky Derby themed. So
that'll be fun.
Going,
do you have to wear like a big floppy hat to that?
I don't like hats, so I've gone against the hat. But I got a date, and he's kind of cute. So
did you meet him on Tinder?
No, I actually didn't. He actually lives on my floor, but I could probably find him on Tinder.
Yeah, everyone's on Tinder nowadays. So, where is your formal at?
It's at the Elbridge on Mass.
Okay, I shouldn't have asked that since I just, recently transferred here.
That's fine. Well, all I know is you have a chocolate fountain, and I'm really excited about the
Oh
chocolate
my gosh,
fountain.
that'll be a blast.
That's all I care about is my chocolate.
Yeah, there needs to be food everywhere,
Oh, yeah, you can't go without food.
You can't go to events unless there's food.
I won't go. I'll just boycott the event if there's not food. What are you doing this weekend?
I am writing some papers.
Oh,
and
lovely.
that's, yeah, I'm just going to stay in and write some papers. But we'll be back with Bella Without Borders.
Where you go to college makes a statement about you. This place will become a part of you, your identity for life. The University of Kansas, a great place to be you.
Welcome back to Bella Without Borders. Today I have a special guest with me, Marie Brown, who is a KU professor in the Department of History. So to kind of jump into things, Marie has a book coming out, so if you can kind of tell our audience, what is it about, what's it called?
Sure, yeah, and it's not totally coming out. That's a little bit premature. I'm still working on the final edits and revisions,
Okay.
But the book is called Khartoum at Night, and it focuses on Sudanese women in the first half of the 20th century, so 1900 to 1950. And that's a time when Sudan was colonized by Great Britain. And my interest is looking at how Sudanese women experienced imperialism, right, and colonization. And the tricky part is at this time, Sudanese women aren't very well educated. They aren't writing sort of long letters or essays about how they're feeling. Right. And so my work has been looking at how Sudanese women have used their bodies and clothing and fashion to document and talk about their life under imperial rule.
Right, so this book just seems, to talk about a lot of like the women's public presence. So has that, changed at all from pre-modern days to maybe now?
Yeah, and that's, I think, a misconception that I try and correct both in my book and then also just in my classes more broadly. So when we think of the Middle East, we often think of women who are sort of veiled or secluded in a harem and never allowed out. And that's really not true. That's a really incredibly sort of exceptional case. So in fact, in earlier points in Middle East history and sort of Arab culture, women were in fact quite prominent and sort of quite public and active. They're merchants, they're traders. And you sort of see this sort of arc in which they move towards sort of greater and greater sort of seclusion as Islamic empires become richer and richer. You get more women in a harem as a sign of wealth. And then you get to the 19th and 20th century and this new move to modernization, right, which is what you're referring to, when women again begin to think about taking a greater public role, so serving as doctors, teachers, nurses, educators, jurists. And of course, many of us also sort of try and attach the veil to that too, right? And so we're determining whether women are public or not by whether or not they're wearing a veil, right? And I think that's something that we should push back against too, right? Because there are certainly women who are veiled, right, who are incredibly public and incredibly active.
Right. So, with a society that's so powerful and rich, with their cultural tradition, how is there a way for that to modernize at all, or has it, and how so?
Yeah, and I think and I think we should be clear about the terms that we've used. So you were using modernize, which is exactly the term that I would use. People also use the term westernize, and I think that is an incorrect term, right? So I don't think that people in Middle East societies have been trying to become more like the West, right? They have tried to compete in a modern world that is dominated by the West, but while still maintaining, their cultural traditions, right? And so, and I think this is sort of an ongoing struggle in that you get different societies, different countries, different groups of people who are saying, how do I remain true to Islam while still competing in a global marketplace, right? So there are some interpretations of Islam which say that you can't charge interest. Well, then, how do you run a bank, right? Or how do I send a daughter to school while protecting our understandings of what modesty is like, right? And so I think this is, or what does good government look like? What does a modern government look like? And so this is sort of an ongoing struggle in finding the appropriate balance
Right.
between what is it's sort of international and modern and global, and then what is sort of truly theirs, right? And people come up with different answers
Right.
to that.
So you've done, a lot of studying and in Egypt particularly. Has that, if you could kind of briefly tell,
Yeah.
how has that, maybe modernized, if at all, since, pre-modern day? Like, has it, or what are some things that Egypt has done that you think has kind of modernized itself?
Yeah, so I mean, there are, so the obvious, and this is like an unfair answer, right? So, they've moved past the pyramids, right?
Yeah.
So they've modernized in that way. Egypt is Cairo especially, right, is an incredibly vibrant town. They say New York is the city that never sleeps. I think Cairo is the city that never sleeps. There's discotheques, there's skyscrapers, there's great music. McDonald's delivers, which when you are a college student studying abroad is the greatest thing in the world because they're open to 2 a.m. and they're delivering to you. But at the same time, there are things that perhaps we would think are not quite so modern, so that young adults don't tend to live on their own, right? So you live with your family until you are ready to get married, right? So there's not this sort of intermediate period that we would be used to, right? And that actually poses a great deal of sort of problems because it's really expensive to get married, right? And so that you get a lot of people who are sort of older and older and older who haven't saved up enough money to get married, to get an apartment of their own, and they're still stuck with their parents. And you can imagine the kind of clashes that are going on there.
So you mentioned that you studied abroad in Egypt. So do you think that's a good idea for students if they want to learn about maybe any international content or anything like that, specifically Middle Eastern? Is it practical to just learn in a classroom, or should they study abroad, or what are some options?
Oh yeah, so I'm a huge proponent of study abroad. There's only so much I can do in a classroom. I present sort of a very straightforward linear narrative in a classroom. We have a textbook, and so I can't capture everything that's going on, right? I actually went to Egypt the first time as a junior. I didn't speak a word of Arabic. I couldn't even name the countries on the map. I mean, I knew absolutely nothing. So I just sort of jumped into it, and it was fantastic, right? And there are experiences that confirmed what I would eventually read in books, and there were experiences that sort of spoke against that, right? So we think about, and I was there in the early 2000s, so right after September 11th, so there was a lot of concern about Muslims hating Americans, Arabs hating Americans, and that was absolutely not true, right? The people that I met would say things like, I don't understand your government, or I don't like your government, but I like the American people, right? And that was something that, wouldn't have come out sort of really clearly in a book. So absolutely, my advice to everyone is to get a passport, pack a bag, leave, go somewhere, anywhere but here. Yeah.
So for people who are maybe interested in Middle Eastern studies like myself, what are some career options that they have, maybe working directly in the Middle East or something here?
Yeah, so there's a number of options. A lot of it depends on whether or not students have a grasp of Arabic, right? So learn that soon and keep at it. And so if you had Arabic, certainly you could be based somewhere in the Middle East. You could be working sort of for media outlets as a correspondent. The government also is happy to take you. So some people that I studied abroad with, my first time now work for the CIA and the FBI. So that's certainly an option. And then sort of closer to home, there are all sorts of nonprofits, think tanks, consultancy groups. There's just a lot of information that needs to be generated about the Middle East, right? Not only to improve sort of America's ties with the region, but to inform the American public about the region, right? And so nonprofits and think tanks are a great way to start because they often offer internships, usually unpaid, but it's a way to get in and to figure out what it is that you like to do, what you're good at, and sort of how to work your way up the ladder.
Great. Well, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I don't think so, other than to say that, this is a, people often sort of think KU sort of in the middle of nowhere and we're sort of totally divorced from what's going on in the broader world, but there's a lot of great resources here at KU related to the Middle East, and I think there's a really great core of students who are interested in the Middle East, and that makes my job a lot easier.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me.
We'll be right back after the break.
Welcome back. I'm Cameron Findley.
And I'm Jessica Lawson. This is your Good Evening KU News Update. All three candidates of our next Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor have visited campus and made public presentations. Neil Budapindi, Dean of the School of Business at KU, Larry Single, Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences at Indiana University, Bloomington, and Chetan Dajali, Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences at the University of Iowa, have each visited the campus in the past week. More information about the candidates is available on provostsearch.ku.edu, along with online feedback forms for each candidate.
The state of Kansas is in danger of receiving a lower credit score. Standard & Poor's rating service reported the current budget shortfall and concerns over Governor Sam Brownback's tax proposals provide at least a 1 in 2 possibility of lowering the state's credit rating. These ratings affect the interest rates states receive when buying and borrowing bond dollars.
For the 5th year in a row, University of Kansas Department of Design was named the best school at the National Student Show. KU students won nearly half of the awards, including Best in Show. The show is an annual 3-day conference and includes an award program put on by the Dallas Society of Visual Communications.
KU will honor its retiring unclassified and university support staff at a luncheon on May 17th. Retiring faculty and academic staff will be recognized on May 26th.
The 89th Kansas Relay wrapped up a successful week with fireworks and some new discus records. On Friday, former Jayhawk Mason Finley broke a 40-year-old record in the open men's discus with a mark of 210 feet 2 inches. Then on Saturday, current Jayhawk Mitchell Cooper threw the discus 205 feet 3 inches in the KU quadrangular to break both the school and Australian national record.
The NFL draft commences tomorrow night, with the Los Angeles Rams selecting first overall after trading with the Tennessee Titans earlier in the month. The first round will be held tomorrow, with rounds 2 and 3 being held on Friday and the later rounds held on Saturday to conclude the draft.
And that will wrap it up for today's show. Just 7 more days of regular classes, so make sure you're getting in all those final projects and start studying for your finals.
Where you go to college makes a statement about you. This place will become a part of you, your identity for life. The University of Kansas, a great place to be you.
Good afternoon and welcome back. We are looking at a live shot right outside of Wesco Beach and looking at Strong Hall. We are seeing the sky starting to clear up a little. We were seeing some afternoon thunderstorms rolling through the area. Nothing really hit us, unlike yesterday. Yesterday was kind of crazy with those heavy rain, heavy winds, and lots of lightning. But let's take a look at tonight. As we head into tonight, we are going to see those winds switch to the west and bring some colder weather. A low of 45 degrees tonight, and the clouds will clear, and we will see clearing skies tonight as we head into tomorrow. We're looking at a high right around 68 degrees. It's going to be a little chillier than we have seen these past few days, but mostly sunny skies and calmer winds. And we will see in the weekend, unfortunately, we are going to see some rain coming back Friday into Saturday, not what we want to see for the weekend. Just because we've been seeing so much lately. But that's good because we have been needing it really badly. And then these temperatures are going to stay right around 66, 68 degrees as we go into Sunday and Monday. The rain will go away and temperatures are going to stay in the mid-60s. That is all we have for you today on this week's edition of Good Evening KU. We will see you next week.